Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Welcome to the new sound of Rockland. RocklandWorldRadio.com. Exciting online TV and radio. Watch and listen to what you've been missing. Broadcasting independent music, art, and culture. From the world of pop to poetry, classical to cutting edge. Movies, comedy, jazz, jams, rock and roll baby, interviews, information, and event listings. Join the revolution. It's not just radio, it's Rockland World Radio. RocklandWorldRadio.com.
You've reached Rockland World Radio. This is Lena Shockley. I'm Lena Shockley, as you know, from the Youthology Hour. And we have two very special guests today. We have Hazra, the author of 4 books here that we're going to be talking about. And we have a movie producer from Jersey Style Films, Mr. Nathan.
Yes.
Okay. And would you please tell us a little bit about yourself today?
I am a single mom, and I've been working on this book for about 3 years now. I come from a slew of different perspective backgrounds, Muslim, Christian, Hinduism. So the book that I'm going to be talking about today mainly, it's called When You Hear From Heaven, and then basically what that is a perspective view of heaven as we all know it, as truth.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's phenomenal. What made you decide to be inspired to write this type of book?
I have always been searching for truth. I've been looking for answers on what is heaven, where it is, what it's all about. And given the experiences that I've had throughout my life, no one pastor or pundit or priest has been able to answer the question for me. So I went on a quest looking for that, and throughout that I realized that just as how I found it, I wanted everyone to be able to have access to this truth and know that heaven is real and it is right here in the earth atmosphere.
Rockland World Radio. Let me just wait. Rockland World Radio, you're live and direct. Who are we speaking with?
Yes, Lena. This is Phil Weiner.
Hi, Phil. How are you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. How is everything going over there with you?
I'm trying my best. You know how it is. Doing my shows and stuff like that. We have a telethon coming up on November 11th to raise money for Access 23 TV.
Okay, well, maybe we can bring these lovely people on your show as well. I know you have 8 million cable viewers. You've been on for over 20 years. Would you like to ask the book author, a question, or Mr. Nathan from the movie production company, Jersey Style Films?
Yes, just I'd like to know what he does.
Well, you want to tell him what you do?
That's a. I laugh at that question. The question should be, what don't I do? In an independent film company, anything independent, you learn how to do everything. I'm an executive producer.
Right. Yeah, I know what that means. I deal with them also.
Oh, okay. Okay, and go ahead. What do you? Go ahead.
So
yeah, that's my specialty. I'm part every year of the Hoboken Film Festival for the. I've been doing it for the last 4 years on the red carpet over there, so I'm very familiar with these independent film companies because they submit a lot of films for our festival.
Phil, let him give you some more information. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
We produce feature-length films. We produce music videos, anything. underneath film, major feature films cover everything in the entertainment market, you know. So I got different relationships from actors, singers, to crew members, and as an independent company, it's important to have good relationships, because when you're filming and everything, the thing that you're chasing, the hardest thing is to chase is the capital. To get a story is easy. To get the crew together is easy. To get that film done, you got to find that capital.
That's correct. I know that very well.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you have a question for Miss Hazra?
Okay, who's the book writer now?
This is her. This is she. The one on the flyer. You shared the flyer. You shared the flyer, Phil.
We've had book writers on our show,
Okay.
so I could always use another one.
Okay. Well, tell them what you are writing about and what you've written about.
I've written, this is my first book, Phil, and this is called When You Hear from Heaven and Life Takes On New Meaning.
It would be great to have another book writer on our show to bring their book on and promote themselves.
He wants you guys on his show.
Oh, okay.
They're going to come on your show, Phil.
Definitely. We did it before a few times. We could do it again.
Okay. So go ahead and tell him a little bit more about your book.
Okay. The book, When You Hear from Heaven, is a perspective view from every angle of every religion and non-religion. It gives you a glimpse of heaven, letting you know what truth is and how you come in contact with that in your daily life. Heaven is right here in the atmospheric earth realm that we exist. So this book is guaranteed to take you to the next level and provide answers to so many questions that you have in life.
Okay, well, thank you for calling, Phil. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. Okay. Yes.
He's funny.
He's a great guy. Okay.
How could we get your book?
The book is available on Amazon.com, all three of them. Those three of that series and this one is part of a five W's of heaven. So it'll be when, who, what, when, and where.
Okay.
Of heaven. So this is the first, when you hear from heaven. So the next one is why you hear from heaven and who hears from heaven, continued with the next.
And then that's on Amazon.
Yeah, it's all going to be available on Amazon. They're self-published.
Okay.
And should you have people contact you on Facebook too? Do you let people contact you?
Yes, I can be contacted on Facebook and also Instagram. My phone number will be listed for convenience.
Okay, and just spell your name so they know how to look you up.
My first name is Hazra, Hazra. The last name is Boodooram, Boodooram.
Okay, all right. And how do they spell your name?
Mine is Jersey Style Films.
Keep it public.
Yes, Jersey Style Films.
That's nice. That's nice. And tell them a little bit about some of the films that you've done, so they're familiar with some of the famous films that you've done.
Well, I've done several. I've done the North Star, which had Len Whitfield, Keith David, Clifton Powell, John Dill, and a whole bunch of young actors. The Cage, The Golden Empire. If you punch up Jersey Style Films,
yes,
Google it, you can see everything, a lot of the stuff that we've done.
Yes.
Jersey Style Films, IMDb.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
and if people Google you, what will come up?
They will find, it's easier to find the books by my name. So if you put in Hazra Boodooram on Amazon, it'll pull up When You Hear from Heaven, Why Me, In the Fire, and also Raising the Bar. Okay. So it all pops up. They're self-published, so it's all new. This has only been done since September 11th.
Wow.
So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And are you proud of your daughter serving in the military?
Yes, I am. She has been a rock for me because of her privacy and being in the military. I can't call her name and stuff.
Understand.
But, my 3 children, my son Brandon, my son Brian, and my daughter. So everything that I do, it's actually building a legacy for them so that they have something to look back to.
Yes. And as I was mentioning about my father before we got cut off by the call, he had some issues because he had skin missing from his leg. So as a little girl, I used to ask him, well, what happened to your leg? I was like 5 years old, and he would get very upset. He would just go into a rage. And he was a functioning addict. He would drink wild turkey to, suppress his issues with the military that he had from being drenched in blood and coming out of the paddy wagon with all the blown up bodies. So he always would drink, but he took care of our family meticulously. He was the #1 Swedish masseur in Colorado. All the stars got to come to our houses. I got to see the stars when I was a child, autograph things, everything was on the wall. So that was awesome. He gave us an awesome life, paid for private schools and Catholic schools for us. He gave us a wonderful life, but he had that issue with, what had happened to him. So he just managed it until he died. But it was really, really deep.
It seems like people that have served in the military and that are serving in any capacity anywhere, firefighters, police officers, they deal with so much behind the scenes, and sometimes family members cannot cope with that because you're so close to it. And having an outside entity, it's not easy for them to open up and just talk to anybody about anything. Sometimes they look for outs, which is, alcohol or anything like that. And if they haven't turned to something, then they bottle it in, and then it becomes an issue. It's it's recycling itself daily.
Yes.
I've done a documentary on Golf 27. And one of the things, the one guy said, he said, I drink 1 beer to forget, and I drink a 6-pack to remember.
Whoa.
So when you actually, when you talk about the military, my mode actually just changed.
Okay.
Because I'm there, I feel what you just said, and it's hard to function, but we function.
You adapt.
It's hard for your dad to function, but we function.
Yes.
It's hard for the family member to even understand.
We never do.
You can't. And that's why the Golf 27 coming home to war, it's a reunion that they do every year. And they find new people. And that week that you're together with your brothers. Your brothers from
that's
Vietnam,
where you're truly home.
And then that's when you're at home. Because and it's hard to explain to anybody. And then that's why we normally hang around each other.
Yes.
When Dr. Paul came in, as soon as you said he was in the military,
he gravitated.
We already gravitated, and when we shook hands, we didn't just shake hands like this from afar.
Sealed it.
It was a lock.
Yes.
Because we've been through the same thing, and if you've been in long enough, you've seen it. You had to deal with it, and it's hard.
Yes.
But we still function and keep moving.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful sacrifice.
Yes. But that's the same thing with your books. You hit the right books because the police officers go through the same thing. The fire department go through the same thing.
It's all service.
And we have to depend on each other when we make a move. And when one of us go down, we all go down, but we still got to keep moving.
Yes.
Because we still got to protect and serve and make sure everything's okay. So those entities are different than working in an office. Because you're not dependent. Your life isn't dependent on this person that you're working in an office with.
Understand. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And it's a different relationship and everything.
It's all together.
Yes.
I look at it as, and that's why I tie it all back into the heaven, because it's the ultimate sacrifice. And I always say freedom is not free.
Yes.
Freedom is what you've earned. And it's usually a sacrifice, just like the Christ was sacrificed for the freedom of his people. It's the same way I see anyone who is willing to lay down his life for me. You don't even know me when you're out there, but you're fighting for me.
Yes.
And that's why it's so close to my heart, because I don't know, like people will read this book and they'll understand me and where I come from and the way my life has evolved. And that's why when I hear of a soldier fallen or a firefighter, it literally hurts me like I've lost a loved one, like it's me. I'm hurting because it's like, oh my God, I lost another one. That's how I literally feel.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You want to take that for me? Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah. So another question I wanted to ask you about this book. Is there somebody that you've dedicated this book to?
There's a few dedication in there, and these are the ones that have gone into the next realm, into the heavenly realm. Okay. And I have made contact. I make contact all the time with the celestial host. That's why I said heaven is real. It's right here. And in order to be able to contact, you have to raise your elevation of thinking. You have to raise your intellect. And these loved ones are dedicated in here. It's my father, Hatem Ali, my mother, Sylvia Lachman, my brother, Nazim Ali. He served in the military in Trinidad and Tobago and paid the ultimate sacrifice. He was blown up in a bunker, killed with 4 firefighters and 2 other service members. Wow. So it hits home, and I know that it's real. And then there's a young child that I identified with, and his name is Brandon. I'm not going to call his last name. Okay. It is in the book because I don't have rights to put his name on national television. Oh, okay. But these people and my ex-mother-in-law, which has been very recent, like I said, this book was published in September, so this all came about pretty quickly. And she was the one person, by losing her, she's the ultimate person that showed me what real love is. And understanding that, I'm able to turn it in, and that's why I decided to dedicate it, because understanding what true love is, it's all in one package here.
Okay, thank you so much. And can I ask you about your own personal experience with death? Do you mind, or is that okay?
Absolutely. My personal experience with death happened twice. One time I attempted to take my life, and I got saved. So I attempted on my life the Wednesday, and then I got saved as a Christian that Sunday. So that kind of came together in one package. And then in February of 2017, I had a stroke. And when they wheeled me from the hospital into ICU, they begin the count. If anyone knows anything about the medical field, they start counting down strokes, stat, 10 minutes into stat, all that good stuff. And I remember being on the teleprompter with the neurologist and her asking me questions. And in order for them to put TPA into my system, I had to give an approval. And they notified me at that time that in order for us to put this TPA, you sign off. But the 2 things are, one of it, if it's not a stroke, you will bleed to death and die. The other is, if it is a stroke, it's going to clear everything up. They announced stroke, I think it was like 13 minutes into stroke stat, and then I saw the nurse pulling with the syringe from the medicine, and then the next thing I know, I was at the knee of the Lord Jesus Christ. Wow. And I saw like these golden pixie dust looking thing, and I remember feeling so excited, and I said, oh my God, I made it. I did. It's so easy. And he put his hand on my head and he said, daughter, it is not your time. Go back and tell them what I've done for you. And I said, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go back. And the next thing you know, I'm back in the bed, and I'm pissed because it's like, you mean I got to come back here? And they put the medicine, and then the next morning I'm waking up and the neurologist is saying, Mrs. Boodooram, we don't know what happened to you last night. We know you had a stroke. You're obviously alive because the TPA is in your system, and if it wasn't a stroke, then you would have been dead because you would be bleeding to death. Wow. And all I kept thinking was, I'm hungry and I want to get out of here. Because I was fine, like my head, and she said, we did a brain scan and there's no brain damage, but yet my whole left side, I could not hold a piece of paper in my hand.
Oh my goodness.
So right then, I kind of started figuring out what was happening, and I'm thinking, okay, well, if you brought me back here, I might as well just go on and do what you're asking me to do. Right. So the inspiration started coming, and I wanted to tell everyone. And then the pastor from the chapel came in, and she prayed with me and talked to me, and then she said what happened. And when I explained to her what had happened, she broke down, and I'm thinking, well, why is she crying? I'm the one who's laying here. And she said that I had blessed her tremendously, that I was able to go and meet the Christ and come back and talk about it. But at that time, it wasn't that significant to me, because all I kept thinking is, I'm hungry and I need to get out of here. So that was my true experience, with that I can safely say that I was there and I'm back.
And did that open up your perspective about God, or? It
did, because I realized that Christ is real, and that all these encounters and everything that I had been having, it was real.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Go ahead. What are you saying? Yeah, I know you got something to say about that.
That's a test of your faith. When we're here, this isn't. Because when you just said that, this isn't an accident that we sitting here. Because I only walk in faith because it's impossible for me to be here, and God put us here to do stuff. And when you were ready to go, he said, go back, because you're not done, because you got to write this book, that book for these other people. And you become a voice. So God makes us a voice for people who can't speak and fight for themselves.
Yes. Yes, I truly believe
God, no, that's what it is. That's your mission in life. Nothing matters except for that. That's why you're speaking for these soldiers, these police officers, these firemen, and I do the same thing when I walk, because I walk in faith, and God provides everything that we need without even trying. Yeah. Without even trying, as long as you stay focused and do what you said, what he told you to do, you're here on this show right here. Yeah. You just got a phone call from a young man that got
8 million cable viewers for over 25 years. Yeah,
he wants you on that show.
Yes,
and that's how God works.
Yes,
God won't put anything on us that we can't bear, and he's going to give us everything that we need when we make a move.
Take us through.
And that's for a fact with my independent film company.
Yes,
it's for a fact.
Amen.
Only through God that we keep moving and we keep producing films and getting in different positions to produce a higher film and run into relationships with people that I'm gonna get your book. I'm going to get your book.
Yes,
somewhere in the military through my relationships, because that's what God put me here for today.
Thank you.
I'm going to buy all 4 of these books, and I'm going to donate these books to my friends' bookstores. Okay?
Thank
and I want you to autograph them.
Oh, thank you. I'm most honored to do that.
Sure. Yeah, it's awesome.
I just feel like speaking on the divine intervention, and I do believe truly wholeheartedly that this is a divine intervention, because of the way that I even met Lena is through another person, and come to find out there was so much in common, and I was able to shed light on helping her with some other things in her life to make connections. And the way that God, like I said, I was able to go and come back, and I know that it exists for real, that I can talk to people who have loved ones that have gone on, and I can hear them just like I'm talking to these people. It might seem crazy, and you might call me crazy, but that's okay, because I know what I know, and I can safely say that there is no one that I know personally that is out there in the world that can come to me and says, that's not true. Because if you do, you have to show me the proof. And only then I will listen. And until then, I'm going to continue to go forth and speak the truth as I know it. And yes, I've come to terms with the fact that I am a martyr. And if I take a bullet for the truth, then I know I'm going to go straight forward, because I know what's over there. So I'm not afraid of this.
Understand. And I just want to thank you for explaining the feathers, Can you explain the feathers to the audience? Because a lot of my friends are telling me, and they were good friends of my husband's, God rest dead, he just passed 2 months ago, there's been feathers everywhere, and I didn't know what to say to them. So
the experience that I've had, and I've learned about of the remains of the clues, as they put it, and I don't know that much about all the aspects of all the different archangels. However, I've had the distinct opportunity to work with the Michael archangel in the warrior form, and I've met him. He camps out in my room. We talk all the time. I see him all the time, just like I'm seeing these people. And Gabriel is the one that leaves feathers because of his majestic wings and everything, and he is the messenger. So whenever he comes to bring a message to you, and you'll find feathers. But these feathers that you find, it's usually not a feather that you would normally see. So it's like you might see a bluebird feather, or you might see just a white feather, and the size of the feather is unusual. You would have to come in contact with a bird, that's flying around, like a chicken running around or something. It's a size of a feather that is distinctive. And most people that I've spoken to that has come in contact with these feathers, when they pick it up, and I associate it with God. And when you pick up this feather, it's like your mind goes to something that makes you treasure that feather. And later on, you hear these conversations of a feather, and then it's like, yeah, I got one too, and then it's like a conversation starts going, and then you start realizing that, there's more to this. And when you mentioned the feather, and I said, that's your loved one, and then you spoke about different things, and Michael, the archangel, has a blue light. It's called the blue ray light around him. And when you come in contact with things like, for instance, you'll be like your phone was going to lit up, it'll take a blue weird color and something weird's going to happen. It's a clue. And then when you become aware of the clues, more clues come. More clues. And then you get to the point where you actually feel his presence. You can see him. He's just camping out there. I've come in contact with him where I can smell him. Wow. I find myself, because I've met him and he's taken me on battlefields, and I can smell the leather and the metal and the strap. And I've actually gone into stores and picking up belts and leather things to smell the smell. It's very distinctive. It smells like it's been used.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's deep. You have any questions about the spiritual realm?
Well, I was talking to Richard. We learn something every day. When I got here, you learn something every day. I just learned something, and I walk in faith. My favorite song is "This Little Light of Mine." I'm gonna let it shine, because when you see me walk, you know I'm covered by God. So you just impressed me, because you're on a whole nother level in relationship with God.
Yes, sir.
That's. So when you explain what you went through, it's a relationship with God, because she hasn't experienced that, so she couldn't even understand and believe it, or this person. I know and believe what you said is true, because God saved me, but
I am just a servant. I am just me.
Yes, we are.
Everybody give her a hand. Come on.
But you're on a whole nother level.
Yes, it is.
And nobody can stop you from reaching all these people.
And that's what it is. It's when I talk about the levels and all Hinduism, Muslims, Christian, they all tie in. And ladies and gentlemen, the code to break it open is get rid of religion and understand people. Because his word in the Christian scriptures, in the Hindu scriptures, it all teaches love. It's all about loving one another. Forget the religion thing, because we are people, his people. And that's why it all comes together, because when you're meeting people, I don't see color. And I'm going to give this quick little clip of an illustration. God is the first one that took a selfie. He looked down, he took an image, made a negative. When you look at a negative, you look deep inside the negative to see that picture that's going to come out. That's who we are. When we look at each other, we're looking at a negative, but we're looking deep inside, which is the heart of that person. And when you're looking there, you look at a picture, what it goes through to come out to that perfect picture. It goes through the washing solution under the red light. It's interesting, it only has to be a red light, which is the blood. You're looking into the heart, and that's what you see. The person, not the outside of the negative, which has all these weird colors to it.
That's deep. That is deep.
And I can touch base on that because when you go, I was a drill sergeant.
Okay.
So you got to respect all religion.
Oh, wow.
All religion.
Wow.
Every single religion. And from that experience, then you accept everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's deep.
And you do it without even knowing it in the military, you know?
As a drill sergeant, do they tell you everyone's religion, or they just
no,
you're not allowed to?
No. You'll know because
Yeah.
on Sunday it's
Oh.
time to go to church.
Okay.
And then there's different churches, different, and then everybody go whenever they go.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
the military already agrees that everybody's one person, that there's only one higher being.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and then that's why they respect everybody's religion, whatever your thought process is, or whatever it is. And when you said, if you take religion out of it,
Okay.
and then look at everybody as a person, as a human being, and love,
It's the
that's
answer,
it.
and I don't understand why is it that the world has gotten to be where it is, to a place where people look at race, ethnicity, all these things. It's a dividing factor.
And it's so disgusting.
It's you know,
repulsive.
you're like, okay, this one. Take a knife and
Yeah.
slice 5 persons' hand, and the blood is going to be the
come out
same
The
color.
The same. Yeah.
And they have feelings.
And all across the world, all the cultures that I'm dealing with, they all have this damn caste system, and it drives me crazy. And I just wonder, like, well, when are they going to wake up and just get rid of the caste system? Because the color division is the problem. I mean,
Well, that's
they have
one
certain
thing. The
people-
color is one thing. And then,
You know?
yeah, you have the caste, and then you have the religion. I recently had a situation, and that just burned the fire inside of me even more to push this book out, because
Yeah.
my ex-mother-in-law was from Hindu. I'm like in the mix of everything. And then you have the children and the daughter-in-laws in the family that didn't attend the services. They're there at the funeral, but because I'm Christian. Really?
Right. It's offensive.
And that's, and I thought,
Offensive.
you just gave up a service to your husband's mother because you're Christian and they're Hindu?
Yes.
How does that make sense? Nobody can explain that one to me. It does not make sense. And that's why it's important to throw all that stuff out and just look at people for who they are. And in this book, I tried to use scriptures to reference the things so that the Christian people can identify, and the teachings that I learned under the Sunni Muslims, by the way, which are very strict, and then from the Hinduism teaching. So, being born of a Muslim father and a Hindu mother, got raised by a Muslim, married to a Hindu, saved as a Christian, and came full circle.
Wow. That's deep.
The teaching, it was supposed to be, and I just happened to learn.
Wow.
I learned everything that I learned. And finally, a couple of months ago, it's like, why did all of this happen? Well, because you're supposed to take all of that and put it together.
Yeah. Educate everybody.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions here for the guest here, for Hazra or for Nathan? Anyone? Don't be shy if anybody has a question.
I'm not afraid of answering questions. And like I said, if I have the answer, I'm going to give it to you. If I'm not, I'm going to find a way to point you to it. And that's my goal. It's
Okay.
answering questions and telling people, because it's like sometimes I find myself, I feel like a computer with a download.
Yeah.
It's like, it's this much. I need to
Yeah.
take it and put it on a flash drive. And like, give the information out.
And so would you like to go on some book tours and talk about your book in different
Yeah,
states
absolutely.
and
If given
countries?
the opportunities, my goal, and one of the things I put in this book here as a disclaimer, and I said that it's not about money. It's not about selling this book. It's about it reaching into the hands of the people that are seeking for this information. And I've also put in here that anyone who cannot afford to purchase this book, a copy will be provided to you. Whether I need to email you a PDF, and you can send me questions to my email address, which is done for this book, the 5 W's of Heaven @gmail.com. So if you want a copy and you cannot afford it and you would like to know, please contact me and I will make sure that you get a copy of this book, because it's not important about money. That money comes when you do the things for God first. So I believe that if you're truly seeking, you will have the answer, just like I did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Sure, hon.
Okay, I'm trying to find the best way to put it on.
Just ask. Just ask. I'm not going to be offended. Trust me.
I'm speaking based on my experiences.
Awesome.
That I have, and having.
Okay.
I lost a child, and he's a very good person. And they always said when something tragic happened in your life, you're not supposed to question the Most High about it, because everything is for a reason. But since we're in the human realm of our life, and sometimes we do not tap in the spiritual realm, we have a tendency of doing that.
So the question is,
what advice would you give to a person who have lost a loved one when you know they actually was a good person? Because the saying always goes like, why all good people always end up passing away?
that's a very good question. And I'm glad you asked that, because I love when people ask those kinds of questions, because it tells me two things. You're not satisfied with the answer that you got, and that you still have more questions. And my answer to that first part of your question is, who said you can't ask the question?
Society.
Thank you. So because society says, I wondered where they got it from. So my answer is, when you were made in His image, and you are uniquely made. That means He gave you free will, and He gave you the same rights as everybody else. The question that you have as to why this young adult was taken over onto that side, it could be two things, and I'm going to tell you what I can feel from the Spirit of what it is. To answer the question, what I would tell you in that realm, you want to know, why did this happen? And why is it that you can't ask? First thing you need to do is ask. Because when Jesus died, the veil was rent. So you can go straight to Him. You don't need someone to stand in front of you and said, you can't do this and you can't do that. That's the first thing. And ask and you shall receive. So if you ask Him, why did you take him? He will answer you. He will either give you a clue. He'll speak to you directly in your ears, since you're in a place where you want to know. And I get the feeling like you want to know, like now. The next thing is, what happens to them? Was that the next question? Where are they, or what? What was
No, not where
the second part of the question? Like, why does God take all the good ones?
Yes.
Okay. That question happens, and I hear it all the time, like a baby dies, and they go, the Hindu teaching of the recycling of the soul is we keep coming until we complete that cycle. The soul goes through cycles, and sometimes a baby is born, and that's the end. The soul is gone. It's not coming back on this part of the earth, which is the second heaven. The first heaven is when a baby is born up until about 12 years old. They don't know too much. They're relying on everything else. They're very innocent. The second heaven is where all the battle is. That's this part, the earth realm. We fought with adversaries, we fight with humans, it's a fight, a constant fight until you go. The knowledge realm, which is the third heaven, is where the celestial beings are. The angels, Michael, Gabriel, all of them, they're in that level. When you come in contact with them, you have to raise your thinking. You have to find the teaching that releases the freedom, brings you faith. When you have that faith to that point where I just walk right out in the middle of the road, I'm like, I'm going. You going? No, I'm going. That kind of faith takes you to that place. When you open it up, you feel them and you know. And when you understand that, you're going to know that your son is waiting for you. He's just sitting there waiting for you.
And again, I learned something. And if she don't mind, I want to chime in.
Sure.
How I explain it is you have your right hand. My right hand is who I am. That's my free will to do whatever I want. And God gives us that free will. My left hand is where I pray and turn everything over to God and ask for his guidance. You know, I lost 2 brothers. I just told Lena when we spoke, I lost 2 brothers in less than 2 years, and I didn't flinch on my faith, which, as I'm sitting here talking to her, my faith put me not here, but close to the top here, getting ready to go into the realm where she's at, where she actually talk and meet with the angels. So I would say to you, I didn't flinch when God took my brothers, because when I looked and seen what happened, my one brother, when he had his funeral, it was like a president died, because you had police officer, you had judges, you had kids, you had teachers, you had anybody from any race come to see him and come to his funeral. They wanted to know who was on that floor, on the 3rd floor in the hospital, you know. And then my second brother that passed away, just like that, brought our family together. So when she say, when somebody goes, it's for a reason that God does it. When a baby's born and then he goes, it's not about that baby. It's about this relationship with everybody else that it's going to affect and bring somebody closer to God. When something happens, because I didn't experience your son thing, so I can't talk about it, because you would say you never experienced what I've experienced. But that's why I talk about myself. Okay. And so when God does something, I pray and turn it over to him, because we always say God don't make no mistakes. And God's going to provide whatever we need. And your baby or my brothers that died, I can see, when she say, look, I can see why my brother passed away. Because God could have saved him. My first brother that died, he could have saved him on that 7th day that he laid in the hospital bed. But my family believed in God and everybody was prayed up. We donated his organs to non-believers. Oh my God. So if there was somebody sitting there, if somebody sitting there that didn't believe in God, was upset with God, God didn't have to perform a miracle over here in my family. God performed a miracle to somebody like you that was in the middle of something. And all God wants us to do is turn it over to him. Turn it over to him. And in your life, I say it's simple but complex. It's simple to pray and turn it over to God and know that God's going to do the right thing. The complex part is our right hand, which is our free will that we got to do whatever we want. And then that's why we use our free will, and then we go back a little further. And then God sets us back a little bit further, and then let us snap us again so that you can turn to him. If life is so simple, every morning when I get up, I don't even make a plan. I lay, pray, and say, God, what directions you want me to go? I wouldn't plan on being here. I got so much stuff to do with the movies that I'm working on that it's impossible for me to be here.
Yes.
I got a godmom, which I just seen a miracle, that's in the nursing home, that I was in the hospital when they said she had to put oxygen on or else she was going to have a stroke and everything else because she wasn't able to breathe. You know, and it was going to cause a stroke.
Wow.
And for 2 years, she's been on oxygen.
Oh my goodness.
And in the nursing home on oxygen for 2 years.
Right.
Her oxygen stopped. And then when I went to her, she didn't even know who I was.
Wow.
So then that was God telling me, now attack this place.
Okay.
Not for my godmom, but for everybody else and what's supposed to be taken on.
Yeah.
And for 2 weeks now, my godmom's been off oxygen.
Oh my goodness.
And that was a miracle.
Wow.
And when she said, you got to look, I can look all around and see all the miracles around me because my faith is into God, and I didn't use my free will to act up and everything, because if I use my free will, it's me. And what I know in my free will, 80 to 90% of the stuff that I do on my free will isn't going to be right by God guiding me. Because I depend on God to guide me, and it clears everything up. I have no pressure about doing movies. My movie is a $17 million budget.
Yeah.
My other movie that I did was a $20 million budget.
Yeah.
It got done.
Yeah.
This other movie, The Knights of Graterford, that I'm working on, because every day I don't use this right hand, because this right hand would cause me to panic and worry and stress and say, how is this going to get done? I pray and turn it over to God, because as long as I serve what God told me to do, that's it.
Yeah.
He's going to clear that path. He's going to make whatever's going on in our life, clear it up. My godmom's good. Listen, I wasn't supposed to be here because I was supposed to be taking my godmom to church tomorrow, you know, or going to see her and that whole building.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's a blessing.
it's a blessing. And it's your faith. It's your faith. And if I could tell anybody anything, the closest way to get to God is stop using your right hand, which is your free will, and then pray and turn it over to God, because that's all he wants is our faith in him. And if you put faith in him, can nothing go wrong?
I have a lot of faith. That's the reason why
You do.
I am
You
as
do.
strong as I am. And what I've noticed with myself is that I'm very humble. And what I've noticed with myself is that if someone happens to just come in my path, which is that have the spirit of confusion or the spirit of evilness and whatever the case may be, that is not the will of God, and they come up on my attack, and when I do pray to him and I let it be, for some strange reason, something in turn always happened to them.
Wow.
Not that I wanted to,
Wow.
but it does.
Oh,
And
boy.
it will be so unexpected that, I will like, oh my God, is it that he's telling them, she's mine, she's my anointed one, do not touch her, because I did not give you permission?
Yeah.
You are covered by God. I'm telling you, with this nursing home situation, they're all against me. I laugh because you don't know my background. I'm an infantry soldier. All I do is fight and fight for everybody else. So I am not afraid to die. I'm not afraid. I'm more afraid of living than dying, because I know when I die, I'm going where I'm supposed to go.
Wow, that's deep.
Because I've done what I was supposed to do. So nothing can come up against you when God's on your side. Your son was a sacrifice for your family and for everybody else. And I say that because my mama passed away. And if you gave me a choice of my mama passing away or my dad would have been gone. That's true. My dad would have been gone because my mama is my mama, And but it wasn't meant for him to go because my mama was ready to go. She had did everything that she was supposed to do. That cycle, that cycle, and it happens. And there's no age different. My brothers fell in that cycle. My older brother, 1 year older than me, fell in that cycle. My brother that's 10 years fell in that cycle. But you want to know something? I was ready to go a long time ago, and God said no, because you still got stuff to do with her, because I'm putting you with her.
Yeah.
And then that's how it works.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and when somebody see you, they look at you and you keep going, and they look at your faith, and they're, wow, how could she do that? How could she do that? Because she's leaning more over here and less over here. You know?
The thing is, I hardly complain. That's my thing. People will see me and wonder, how do I do that? How I accomplish that? What is going on? What is she doing? And because I'm not complaining.
Okay.
You know, so they think that I have it like easy, 1, 2, 3. But little would they know. You know, so.
I want to touch on two things. You talked about when people come in your path and they try to do something to hurt you, or there's a scripture. I believe it's Matthew 18:26 that it says that it is better to have a millstone tied about your neck and cast out into the outer depths than to hurt the least of one of these, which is mine. And you are one of his. So therefore, whatever you do, it's just going to go away. And the scripture that backs that up, it says, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper. Meaning none. So as long as you believe and you have that faith inside of you, you walk. And that's why I can walk and I can stand up and go forth, and I don't care. Because for me, the truth is the truth, and the Bible, Holy Bible says, the truth makes you free.
Yes.
So when you know truth, you can say it and just go forth. Your son, was it a young adult?
Yes.
17?
He was in his 20s.
I got 17 to 20. He was taken because, like the Christ was taken so the Comforter can come to do more, he is working in the kingdom. He was taken because he had work. God took him so he has work to do to work in your family realm.
And
Because
that's the truth. That's the
my other son took it to heart, and he went somewhere where I would say he wasn't supposed to go, but I guess he was supposed to go because he needed that experience.
Push. He needed the push.
So I go through hell and back, put it that way.
You're what they call the fort. You stand there, you prepare them, and they go out.
I still have a lot of work to do on him, which is my other son, which is 19. I took it whole hard. I mean, everyone deal with grief differently, but he took it to a whole different level, you know. And
Which is why you're called.
you
I still have a lot of work. I still have a lot of work on him to do.
if
You have work to do on you,
That
and that mirror is what he's going to see.
too.
I got a question. My mom, my grandma, my son's grandpop, and everybody that passed before, right now is actually covering us as we move. My mom never left me. When my mom passed away, she never, ever left me, because what happened was, now I have to do what she did. And everybody can't do it. Everybody, God, what I tell everybody, we got a gift, and then we consider it a curse. It's no different in the military. I was great. I was amongst the best. I always got volunteered to do whatever, so it could have been a punishment. But I accepted it because now I affect more people. You're not here just to affect this little circle. When somebody come up to you or whatever and they ask you a question, you turn that light on. Whether you know it or not, you just turn somebody on to where God wanted them to be. And the only way that could happen, if God took your son and then now you got my favorite saying, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Sit. When they see you and see how you walk and deal with that situation, they got to say, whoa, her faith. And then you say your faith and it's that, whatever. That's all I talk about is faith. And I'm not just, guess what? this conversation isn't for you. It's for you, and it's also for me, because every waking moment, it's a battle with our faith. Because God tests us every single day. In order for me to be able to affect more people, God's got to make sure that my faith is going to be right. Job's a prime example. He didn't waver, you know, and then that's what happens with us. But it's hard to have that conversation with somebody who hasn't been wherever you've been. I'm hooked on her because I know where I'm at, and I know where she went is a whole nother level than where I'm supposed to be at. And so she's on a level that God says, you gotta affect a lot of people. And you're gonna push what I need to be pushed, and then nothing can come up against you.
And that's why I take it so seriously that it's an honor. The key is obedience. When you're obedient to God first, obedience is actually greater than sacrifice, but the two of them go hand in hand. Because when you're obedient, you do what you're told, and that is the ultimate sacrifice, because you have to give up so much in order to just go forth and just do what you're told. And this young lady in the audience, her son gave her something to carry on. And I don't know if she realizes this yet, but her son, where he's working from, he's just right into the next heaven, and she's right on the edge. Believe it or not, ma'am, you're very, very, very close to your son, like this close. It's like one is over here and one is over here. And pretty soon you're going to start to hear and you're going to start to understand, because there was something that he had purposed in his mind to do here on this second level, and you need to find out what that is and go on and create something to honor that name. And when you do that, you're going to bring those two worlds together, the one where you are and the one where he is, because he wants you to go on and do that work to honor. And the rest of the family, even the one that you feel like is in a different place, he's going to make an about turn and come back here, because it's going to be like, oh, there is something besides this.
I fast and pray, and I fast and pray.
I know you are. Your spirit, I can feel it. And there's pain.
Right, it is.
It's a pain, but it's a knot. You're holding like this.
It's so funny because each time I do something which is the will of God, I reflect back on my name, because my name means the manifestation through God.
What is, if you don't mind, what is it?
Bayina. It's from the Quran.
Bayina.
It's a Hebrew name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it means. The manifestation through Christ, which is God messenger.
Hmm?
That's what my name means.
So you're the one that has to take his message on this earth realm and carry it out.
Beautiful.
Now I want to chime in again because my mother had faith in God and everything. So my little brother, at one time said he didn't believe in God. And he went that full circle because my mom made this sacrifice over here and my brother made the sacrifice. And he went that full circle and then he believed in God. And the good thing about it is once he believed in God, that's when God took him.
Oh, wow.
Because, and I say that because he used to work with me. And you can't work with me if you're not right.
Oh.
And he called me and he said, "Hey, okay, I'm ready to go to work."
Wow.
And then that night, I still got the text and everything. That night, God took him.
Oh, wow.
Because he was getting ready to start doing something that he wasn't supposed to do.
Oh, wow.
That would have pulled him in another realm. And when God took him, there was an agreement made that now his whole family came together, because my brother had
I just saw that.
My brother had a whole bunch of babies, a whole bunch of baby mamas, and all his life he always said, "I'm getting one house for all of you."
Oh,
and God made that one house for all of them.
Yes.
You know,
That's deep.
and just like that. And if I got a split second, I'm going to go out and I'm going to show you the shirt that I did for my brother, where it put him in the middle and it put his 12 kids around him.
Oh.
Because that's what God told him to do, because his kids was upset with him when he was out there doing stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing.
Goodness.
And then when God made it right, that was it. And then that's the only image that they got of him, is what he did for all them during that time, not what he was doing. And then that's how God fixed it. So your son that's over here, she said, he's going to go here. But while that's happening, other stuff is happening. And then as long as you stay prayed up, it's going to happen. As long as you do what you're supposed to do, God's going to make everything else around you all right. I got a 15-year-old son that I don't even worry about him, because I know my mama did what she's supposed to do, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and he's going to be all right no matter whatever happens to him in life, you know, and that's it.
And with that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're introducing a fantastic, talented artist from Jamaica, J. Law Ramones, newly discovered by me, Mountain Dog Entertainment. So we're going to have him perform a song called Girls World.
Wow.
Okay. Featuring Taji.
Love how you make it clap like the speaker. I know nothing if me look underneath ya. Caribbean girls, you mad like we, bad like we, fat like we, hot like we, shot like Rihanna. You had man for your beat to no jump me. I tell you say you me for your play your piano. The girl inna the body rider, and she me want go itch up beside her. The girl inna the pony printer, tell me she come from Colombia. She give me her number. Tell me she want feel for me lumber. So she pull up on me gate in a half an hour. 9 months later, where she spring my flower. You can dance when you want, anywhere you want. Give me Caribbean girls. And you can dance how you want, anyhow you want. Love me American girls. Just give me Caribbean girls. Love me American girls. Where my European girls? Need my African girls. Love my Caribbean girls. Love my American girls. Love my Spanish girls. Love my Asian girls. Give me Caribbean girls. Love me American girls. Where my European girls? Need my African girls. Love my Spanish girls. Need my Asian girls. Love my Jamaican girls. All my Caribbean girls. And you can dance all you want, anyhow you want. Just give me Caribbean girls. Love me American girls. Where my European girls? And all my African girls.
Lena Shockley Youthology Hour with the lovely Hazra Boodooram. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And Nathaniel from Jersey Style Films. And we just want you to contact her and contact him. She is a fantastic author with 4 books here. And you can contact her on Facebook or Instagram or Amazon.com and purchase her book. Okay?
Thank you.
And Selena, I do want you, Selena Polk, I want you to put her on the book tour. Okay? I'm going to contact you and see what you can do for this fantastic woman. She's spiritual like yourself. I think you guys will do very well together. Thank you so much. And rest in peace to John Marshall. We were married for 35 years, and October 6th would have been our 29th wedding anniversary. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
European girls, need my African girls, love my Spanish girls, need my Asian girls.